Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Ash. The project I'm here to talk to you about today seeks to answer the question, can we use political news to predict how people might feel in the future about political or civic issues? And I'll give you a little hint. The answer is possibly. But before we get into it, let me tell you a little bit more about myself. I've spent my career applying data and technology to solve tough social problems like building trust in vaccines in Pakistan and strengthening democracy in Nigeria. For the last few years, I've been developing tools and techniques to use media and entertainment to combat misinformation and promote civic engagement. This work actually motivated my capstone project here. So how did I approach this problem about how we might predict audience attitudes based on the news they consume? My first step was to gather a whole lot of political news from across the political spectrum from 2015 until present. This took a lot of time and tinkering, but it was relatively easy. The hard part was finding a measure that we can use to predict what audiences believe or what they might do based on the news they consume. I settled on Google Trends data for the searches of the word depression. This gives us a broad sense of Americans' overall well-being, and it's a measurable behavior. Then I took my text data and combined it with my Google Trends data so that I can try to predict search volume tomorrow based on today's news. Here's a snapshot. Pretty hard to read, right? Computers love it though. So let's take a look at a slightly more human-friendly format. This word cloud shows a sampling of some of the most important words in all of my news articles. The political words aren't really all that surprising. However, what I find interesting is that climate change related words made it to the top of the list. Here's another way to look at the data. I plotted average search volume for depression from 2015 to 2020 on the top chart. The bottom chart shows average news tone from the same time period. There's a moderate downward slope, which sadly, but perhaps unsurprisingly, means that the news has been getting more negative over time. To make my predictions, I experimented with all sorts of machine learning models, but I had the most success with a neural network I built with TensorFlow, which looks something like this. I also used a pre-trained word embedding layer, which has the advantage over more traditional bag of word models because it captures the meaning of words in a way that counting them doesn't. Here, you're looking at the results for my predictive model. My training accuracy is 82%. And more importantly, my test accuracy is 81%, which means that my model correctly predicts high or low search volume 81% of the time. So what does this all mean? Well, the first implication is that there does seem to be a relationship between political news and how audiences feel after reading the news. It also seems to suggest that we can predict how political news from today affects people tomorrow. While this is very much a prototype, it provides a potentially new template to assess the impact of media and narratives on audiences, which is really important in the civic change space where I've spent my career. COVID is a great example of how this might be helpful. With some creative tinkering, we could use an approach like this to analyze how COVID is presented in the media, predict how it might impact people, and then use those insights to head off destructive narratives. So that's my presentation. Thank you for letting me share it with you. Please do check out my current work at Red Hook Media Lab and reach out so we can continue the conversation. Talk to you soon. Bye.